All right, so we're back at our umbrella stand support, and one thing I noticed that it's missing is perhaps it would be great if it had a bolt and a nut that were right here. So if I put the sort of the nut right here, and I could feed a bolt right through, that would allow me to tighten this so that the bolt would go through to the middle and tighten onto the pole, and that would hold the pole in place a little bit with the collar. Now I could try to create a bolt and a nut here in TinkerCad, but that would be difficult. And fortunately, there is a place where we can go and get things that are already ready to use, and that place is called Thingaverse. So I went to thingaverse.com, and if you search any search engine, it'll be one of the top hits for you. And when you go in here, you'll notice it has like a place where you can explore and educate and create. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in large bolt into the search terms, and I would encourage you to explore through there. And now what it does is it will give me some choices. And I think I'm going to change, I'm going to say large threaded bolt. Okay, so there's one that I could use, and that looks interesting. I can go down and you'll see that others will come up as well. So I'm going to go back into that top hit, and I'm just going to click on it once. And so you can see I have this large threaded bolt and nut, and there are files. So I'm going to click on where it says Thingaverse Files. And what we'll see is that a couple of things. So the files are here and ready to be downloaded, but I also want you to draw your attention to the Creative Commons licensing. So this tells me that I can actually use this as long as I give attribution to them and I'm not reselling it. So I'm going to, I'll download the bolt file, and I'll download the nut file. And so those have now been downloaded. I'm going to come back over to my 3D design, and I'm going to hit import. And now it says drag and drop a 2 or 3D file here, or choose it. So I have this, there's my large nut, and I'm going to drop it in. Now it does tell me what the dimensions are. I'm going to import it because I can resize it as needed. And so let's see what happens here as we wait, and it tells us it's importing the large nut. And so there it is. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to also import the bolt so that I have that as well. And I can use these together. Because they are linked together, that's why I want to make sure that I have them both in here and I resize them a little bit. The dimensions that you saw were um, for the metric piece, and so they put the bolt inside. I'm going to drag that out here, and let's take a look at them. And those probably, just looking at the size, are probably a little too small for what I want to do. So I'm going to grab them, and I'm going to hold my shift button down, and I'm going to enlarge them. And since I did them both at the same time, they're going to stay relative to one another. So I have my bolt, and what I really want to do is I'm going to take my bolt, and notice that I have this piece here. I can now turn my bolt. I'm going to turn it 90 degrees. And so I have my bolt ready to go. I could just move it over here, and I'd probably raise it up a bit, and I'm going to put it so that it's going to be here. And you might think, well, I'm all set. All I need to do is to attach that, group that in, and I'll put it there. But notice it's missing a hole. So how do I make a hole there? Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull out a cylinder that is a hole. And I'm going to rotate that cylinder. So what I'll do is, let me take a look at it this way. I'm going to pull this in here, and I want to rotate that cylinder 90 degrees and to try and pull it around here 90 degrees so that I have it there. And so what you can see is I have this bolt, and it's got to make a hole that's going to be close to the bolt size. So as you can see, I have my bolt. I'll just move that over a little bit. That's probably a little too big because I don't want the bolt to fit there. And so I'm going to hold that and shrink that down just a little bit. All right, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put that hole so that it goes all the way through. So I'll just drag it through like that. And then if you remember, how do we make that hole? All we have to do is group this with this. So I have the two objects, they're grouped together, and when I group them, that disappears, and now when I turn back, I have a hole through my object. And I want to be sure that I'm not worried about whether that bolt is too big or not, but I'm going to place them one over the other. So I'm going to move that into place there. And then remember that the bolt will turn through there. So all I need is just enough of a hole. And so I'm gonna have to back this onto there. I want maybe a little bit to stick out. I might want to extend this out a little bit so that it would move through the through my material. And then if I have it all lined up, all I need to do is join the two objects. So I can join my nut and I can join my piece, and then if I group them together, they're going to now be one. And then for printing purposes, I would probably put my bolt right in the middle there, just so that the print bed doesn't need to move a lot. And so you can see I didn't quite line it up yet. I would fine tune that a little bit more. So if I say, okay, I'm going to ungroup that, and I'm going to take this guy, and I might just use my arrow keys now to line it up, and then I would rejoin it. So that's how you can take an object from Thingaverse and bring it into TinkerCad.